But hopefully everything is fixed with blocking. I know why I wasn't that excited to work on it. I am now, even though I can't work on it. Hi and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Mathilde, I'm a French knitter, and today I'm going to share with you my knitting podcast number 22 or 23rd, I don't remember, but we're going to talk about my whips and my future plans if I have any. Before we begin, I just want to preface by saying it is more than 30 degrees. No, it's 30 degrees today, and I've turned off the ventilator or whatever it's called so that you guys don't hear it, but I already can tell that I'm going to be way too warm, so I might turn that back on and you might hear it a little bit, but hopefully that's not too annoying. But it's really warm today. And I did try on some things for you, even though it's really warm, so I hope you appreciate that. Anyways, before we begin talking about my whips, and in this episode I'm mostly going to talk about one finished object that you've seen last time, but I've blocked it since then, so I just want to briefly show it to you. Not going to talk too much about it, but just mention that I was going to show it to you blocked, so that's what I'm going to do. And then we're going to talk about two whips that you've seen before that have been on my needles for a while, but that I've done some progress on. And then two new cast-ons, which are testknits, and which are going to be my priority this month. If you've watched last week's video, it was my summer knitting plan, so you've already seen some of these progress and some of these plans. Hopefully that's not turning for you. I'm going to try to go more into depth about them, so hopefully it's still an interesting video for you. And also at the end I'm going to talk about some life update, which is very exciting. Also, we are at 5,000 subscribers, which is incredible, so I just want to say thank you so much for subscribing, watching, liking, commenting any of my videos. It really means a lot to me, so I really appreciate you, and yeah, thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to try to hold off on the ventilator thing. But let me just briefly share with you my blocked Amara Vest, which was a test knit I did for testknits, Join from testknits, which is this very beautiful sort of drop shoulder, but it's a vest, sleepover with like the top half being stockinette, the bottom half being reverse half fisherman's rib, which features this very high split hem, and you can see that it really relaxed with blocking. So I'll put on some clips while I chat about the yarn. This was a test knit that was sponsored by Isager, so I did get the yarn for free. I used Jensen by Isager in the colorway 44S and Silk Mohair in the colorway 54, and I think they paired really well together. Everyone mentioned that they thought the color really suited me, so that was very lovely of you guys. I really appreciate it. It was a pretty fast knit, a really enjoyable one. I think the yoke being stockinette made it very pleasant, because I think a yoke is always, at least for me, quite potato chippy, because you just want to get to the next part, especially when it's not so much a raglan but like a drop shoulder. You do the back panel, and it's the front, the left front, the right front, you join them together, and all of these pieces are quite quick in themselves, and then paired together, and then just once you finish them, they just sort of, at least for me, I feel like the garment is already halfway done, which isn't very true, especially in a sweater, but for a sleepover, almost true. And then the half fisherman's rib or the reverse half fisherman's rib is very lovely and very quick to make. I didn't enjoy it so much knitted in the round, but then because you split for the hem quite soon, knitting it flat was really lovely. And the last detail I'll mention is this like double knitted placket around the hem that makes this very neat edges. I haven't unfortunately had the chance to wear it except for once, because it's too warm now. Even today, trying it on for you, I almost died. Well, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's really warm. And this is Jensen, which is DK weight and Mohair, so it makes for a very warm garment. But I think for the when it's a bit colder at night on the summer, maybe we'll see if I can manage to wear it, or else I think for the fall, it's going to be perfect. So that's the Amara Vest by Joanne. If you want to know more about the construction or how many days it took me to knit, you can watch the last podcast, which I'll put up somewhere. But let's move on to my works in progress, which you've seen before. Hopefully I'm going to remember where I was at when I last filmed the podcast, because I feel like my brain at the moment is all like jumbled, and so hopefully I don't forget anything, but if I do, I'm sorry, you probably won't notice, but I will when I'm editing this video. Let's talk maybe about the Tulip Loop V-neck by Other Loops and my progress on it. So in the last podcast, I asked you guys your opinion on which knit I should focus on whilst starting my test knit for my other test knit for Joyen, which I'll talk about later. And like it was 50-50. Some of you guys were like, focus on the mixed Rib Cami because that's gonna be, it's like a true summer knitting project and it just makes sense to work on it now. And then half of you were like, we can see that you're very excited about the Tulip Loop V-neck, so I think you should focus on that. And both were very fair comments and I really appreciate you making them. I decided to focus because I had a bank holiday on the week that I filmed that video, and so I decided to focus on the Tulip Loop V-neck for like 2 days, and then I stopped working on it, and then I focused on the mixed Rib Cami a little bit. Now both of these are like on hold because of the test knits I'm going to mention afterwards, but I did have some progress made on them since the last podcast. And if you've seen my summer knitting plans, you'll know that you'll see that I haven't touched them since I filmed that summer knitting plans video, but we'll just talk about them more. So this is my Tulip Loop V-neck. This is a pattern by Other Loops, which I'm knitting in Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino and Soft Silk Mohair in the colorway Dusty Banana. The heavy merino is a worsted weight, 100% merino wool, and the soft silk mohair is 70% RMS certified mohair and 30% cruelty-free silk. I love this combination of yarn. I've used it before. I always say this, but I do really love these yarns together. And since last time, I've kept the stitch marker of where I was at. So I was here, and I've basically almost finished the body. So I knit all of this, and then I did knit the front split hem, and I'm on the back. And I think I'm like at the point where it's just a tiny bit longer than the front, but it needs to be, I think, 3 full centimeters longer than the front. So I've still got like 2 centimeters to go, which isn't too bad. I actually really hoped to finish this before I put it on hold, just because I like a clean slate. So I would have liked to have finished this so that it's in my head, it would have just been like, okay, now I just need to do the sleeves when I pick it back up again. But that's fine, that happens. And it's 30 degrees now, so I really can't work on this. I mean, I think I could work on this, but me trying it on earlier was a bit painful. So I'm actually pretty happy to be working on some more appropriate knitting projects. I'm going to try it on for you, I've tried it on for you, and you'll see that it's looking a bit weird. I don't think it suits me very well, and I think there's 2 reasons for that. The first reason is I think that those horseshoe cables, the very big horseshoe cable around the V-neck, whilst being absolutely lovely, I think with my chest doesn't look the best, at least not whilst it's unblocked. Hopefully once it's blocked, it's going to bloom a little bit and it's going to be a bit better. And also I think because there are no sleeves, which is a good thing to know because I really love the look of the Tulip Loop vest, but I don't think that would actually suit me. Maybe I'll try it one day anyways, but at least without any sleeves, without anything kind of like dropping the shoulders, I think it looks odd. I don't love the look of it, and honestly it makes me feel like it's like not even something I would enjoy wearing right now. I'm hoping everything is fixed with those 2 things, the sleeves and the blocking. Please reassure me with that. if it doesn't work out, you know, it's a project. It's still going to be a beautiful sweater, and I might still wear it. We'll see how that looks once it's done. But yeah, I think the color not being my color, which you can probably tell, I knew that. I chose that color even though I knew it was not going to fit me, and I don't really mind. But if the sweater itself also doesn't suit me, then I think there's no point to it. But hopefully everything is fixed with blocking. The pattern itself is really lovely. This is a drop shoulder design. You start at the back panel. I think you do the short rows on that part, like where there's no horseshoe cable. So you do some short rows, and then once you've finished the back panel, or at the bottom of the back panel, you have some armhole increases, and then you pick up for one shoulder. You knit the front panel with increases, or actually the increases are here in this stockinette panel. So you knit the increases for the V-neck, and so that horseshoe cable is really connected to the V-neck, and then you do the same thing on the other side. You join them in the round. I think a little bit, not in the round, but you join them together, and then pretty soon after that you do the increases for the armholes, and then you just knit in the round, and you have this stockinette panel around the side, which also I think doesn't help with how it's fitting for me. And then you split for the hem, and you knit the front and the back separately. As you can probably tell also, I'm not loving the way my bind off is looking here. First of all, the pattern, and that's the only modification I've made so far, but the pattern mentions binding off in pattern, and I decided to do a tubular bind off because that's what I usually do. That's the look I prefer. When I started doing that though, I didn't think about the fact that for the ribbing you have that stockinette panel on the side to make it look, to make it look neater. And so because of that, my bind off, obviously I didn't have 1 by 1 stitch all the way sort of around. So I think it looks a tiny bit weird also here, but also I think it's not tight enough, and so it flares out just a tiny bit, which I'm guessing happens on my other sweaters, but I've never really realized because it's in the round and it's not that noticeable. But I think for like a front hem, it looks a bit weird. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do for the back hem, I guess it's what it's called, I'm going to use a needle size smaller to do the double knitting before the sewn bind off, to see if that helps. And if it does, I might have to undo the front hem and redo it, because if it was in the back, I don't think I would bother, but because it's in the front, it's very visible. And I'm going to have to do that anyway for the color, because if you've not caught up with any of my podcasts before, you can probably tell that the V-neck is also pretty loose, the bind off, and that's one thing I'm planning to fix by also dropping in needle size for the double knitting before the tubular bind off, or before the sun bind off. So I'm gonna put this knit aside, and I don't think you're gonna see it in the next podcast, but hopefully I can pick it back up again soon-ish. I also didn't mention actually, but I'm wearing one of my knitted pieces. This is the camisole number 4 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, which I knitted around 2 years ago now, and it's one of my most worn summer knitted piece. I don't have a lot of like summer camis, but this is one of my most worn piece. I knitted it in Knitting Volley Pure Silk in the colorway Dusty Artichoke. One thing I don't love is how this rolls outward. I'm not sure why. And this one I made, I think I'm wearing it. Yeah, I'm wearing it backwards actually. That's funny. So that's why it usually curls inwards. Anyways, that's fine. we'll ignore that. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I shortened the body because back then I think I didn't really try it on before binding off, or I don't know what happened. But anyways, it's definitely a bit short. So I think for my next one, hopefully if I have enough yarn, I'll make it just a tiny bit longer. But I think it looks great otherwise when I'm not wearing it backwards. Let's move on to my next work in progress, which was the knit that you guys told me to focus on. And I think I know why I wasn't that excited to work on it. I am now, even though I can't work on it, but I'll get into that. Anyways, this is the mixed Rib Cami by Florence Miller. Oh, it's looking a bit rumpled. Sorry. So, this is the mixed Rib Cami by Florence Miller, which I am knitting in Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino in the colorway Thundercloud, which is a very beautiful charcoal grey, which is 70% organic cotton and 30% extra fine merino. It's a lovely yarn to work with. I'm really loving it. And the mixed Rib Cami is a lovely design. I've talked a bunch already about the construction, so I don't think I'm going to do that now. But I finally finished the front panel with the armhole increases. I think that was what was kind of like making me not as motivated to work on this, was because I wasn't finishing the front panel, and so I wasn't seeing progress, and I was like, oh, it's gonna take me ages, it's the... But then I realized it's just because I actually hadn't put in the time to work on it that it kind of dragged on. Now I've joined in the round. Let me maybe show you here. Obviously I don't have a lot under the armholes. I am planning on doing the waist shaping for this knit, so hopefully it's going to look even tighter fitting. I didn't try it on because I don't think I have enough centimeters under the arms to really see how that's going to look, but hopefully for the next podcast, the one after that, I have a bit more progress to be able to try it on for you and show it how it's looking. Also, I'm knitting this in the recommended needle size, which is 3mm or US 2.5, but I'm a tight knitter, I usually go up, so instead of going up in needle size, I chose to do the size up in the pattern, so I'm doing size 4 instead of size 3. So I'm also wanting to check that the fit is good for me, that I chose the right side. I think it looks good, especially since I'm going to do the waist shaping. I think it's going to be fine, but I just want to check. There is also a stockinette panel under the armhole. I think you could try to incorporate the pattern in the stockinette panel, but because I'm going to do the decreases for the waist shaping, it's going to be inside of that stockinette panel, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, I'm very excited about this. If I didn't have any test knits, which, don't get me wrong, I'm loving my test knits, but if I didn't, this would be my focus for sure. And I'm hoping I can finish it in like a month or something so that I can wear it. But yeah, I'm loving this. Next up, we have my first test knit of the summer, which is another test knit for Join or Tox Knits. This is going to be the Poppy Blouse / dress test knit, which I'm knitting in Onling Yarn. They are sponsoring also the test knit, so I did get the yarn for free, and they sent me number 21 by Onling. I chose the colorway Army Green, and this is a 60% cotton and 40% linen blend. That's the word I was looking for the other day. And it's a lovely yarn. It definitely feels a little bit papery, like I think you can see in the skein, but it feels really lovely to work with, at least with metal needles, which is what I'm using. And I think it's going to make for a really lovely summer garment. I think the other yarn sponsoring the test knit or the other brand is Knitting for Olive with their pure silk base, which I think is what I'm wearing now, and I think would be really appropriate for this knit. So I think if you've tried pure silk by Knitting for Olive, or if you're just curious about those types of yarn, I so far really recommend this one. I haven't obviously worn it yet, so we'll see how that feels in a bit. But I didn't have anything to share with you last time. I think maybe my swatch, but that was it. And I have since cast on and almost finished the body. Oops, yarn fell. that's the back. Maybe I can show you the front. So a lot of progress. Obviously this is a test knit, the deadline is not too far away now, so that's why it's growing quite fast. This is a lovely raglan blouse slash dress with this lovely lace detail, which is very easy to make and just makes this garment even more, I think, appropriate for summer. It's gonna be a long sleeved blouse. I'm gonna make the blouse version, not the dress. So it's gonna have long sleeves, which I think are gonna be kind of bell shaped. I think they're gonna have decreases around the top, and then I think they're gonna have a little bit of increases towards the bottom. I've read through the pattern a little bit, but obviously I haven't knit them yet. And I chose to do the blouse just because I think that's the thing I would get the most wear out of. I think this color is gorgeous for me. I was a tiny bit worried that the neckline was going to be too big, but hopefully you can see in the clips where I wear it that it feels really nice around where it's sitting. And there's also going to be an I-cord neckline added, which I need to add after. I think I'm going to do that after the body, after I finish the body, and I think that's going to cinch it in just a tiny bit and make this even better. Also dropped the yarn again. So yeah, I think I want to add maybe 5 more centimeters on the body, a tiny bit less, because I think it fits already pretty good. I just have to check with Joanne first, because I think that makes it a tiny bit shorter than what's suggested in the pattern. But because I'm quite short, if I make it as long as the pattern says, I think it's just going to be a tiny bit too long on me. So hopefully she'll be okay with that. And yeah, I think there's also a few other test knitters which are doing the dress version, so definitely be on the lookout for that to see how that looks. But I'm loving this knit so far, and I forgot how nice it is to have a stockinette easy, simple project on the needles, and it's really nice. Even though it's on pretty tiny needles, I'm using 3.5 instead, or US 4 instead of the 3mm needles recommended in the pattern because of my tight gauge, but it feels really, really lovely to wear. There is just one thing I will mention about the yarn. Let me see if I can find it again. Sometimes it just looks a bit weird, like here. Like, I just knit regularly. It's not, I mean, I just did change skeins here, but I haven't woven in my ends yet, so it's not like me weaving in my ends that looks weird. I don't know why, maybe because when I changed skeins, my tension was a bit off. I don't know, but it's not looking perfect, and that kind of bothers me, especially because this bit I just showed you is in the front, so that's a bit annoying, but that happens, that's fine. I do have to weave in my ends though, and I'm not looking forward to that. I don't usually mind, but for like a summer project with yarns like this, I think it's just very visible where I weave in my ends, so I would like to try to make it as invisible as possible with the tips you guys gave me in a previous podcast not too long ago. So I'll get back to you on that. I think I'm unconsciously like going through this quite quickly just because I'm really hot. Okay, lastly we have one more test knit that I'm doing. This was more of an impromptu test knit that I applied for because I fell in love with the pattern, and I'm really happy that I did, because I think it means that I'm going to have some really good summer knitting project this year. So I'm going to have the mixed Rib Cami once that's done, the poppy blouse, which is going to be lovely to wear in like colder days in the summer or colder evenings because it's going to be long sleeve, and then I'm going to have this clay tee. So this is going to become the clay tee by Ozetta. This is a lovely drop shoulder textured pattern. The recommended yarn is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk held double, which makes this a DK weight pattern. However, I decided to use, because I really, really wanted a navy blue garment in the summer. I mean, I wanted a navy blue garment anyway, but I mean, like this summer I was really craving a navy blue garment. I think maybe this was brought on because of the Amara Vest, which is not navy blue, but it's like, I don't know, it just brought blue back in my mind, I guess. So I had tiny bit left over of Sunday by Sandnes Garn in the colorway Marine Blue or 5882. And I decided I wanted to use that for this test knit. Obviously, this is about how much I got left, so I needed to buy more. So that's also part of the acquisitions. But that means I'm holding Merino held double. Hopefully, it's going to be a pretty lovely knit to wear in the summer, even though I think it's going to be quite warm because it's not pure silk. It's going to be definitely a bit of a thicker garment than if I had chosen that yarn. Or I did think about using Tin also by Sandnes Garn, but I couldn't find navy blue in that one either. And then I didn't think about it. Maybe that's what I should have done, but I could have bought some cotton merino by Knitting for Olive, which exists in navy blue, and I think would have been a really good combination or blend for a summer tea. But never mind, I think it's lovely to pair this together, like even though they're the same yarn, but like to hold it double, it feels really, really nice, and I think it gives, like, it's so pretty. I don't know why this is curling in a bit, but yeah. So that's where I'm at. I finished the short row shaping. This is a drop shoulder tee. Did I mention? I think I did, with quite a big number of positives. I think it's 20 centimeters. So it's going to drop quite a bit on my shoulders, which I can hopefully show you if my yarn agrees to entangle. So, I mean, I'm going to try not to touch the mic. You can see that it's going to drop a bit on my shoulders. And then I think, I mean, I'll talk more about the construction next time, I think. Okay, we're back. I had to stop because my camera was overheating. So, took a little bit of a break, but I don't remember what I was talking about with this one. Anyways, so I'm gonna focus on my puppy blouse still because that's the deadline that's the closest, but I'm hoping to get a bit of progress done on this anyways. I'm obsessed with the navy blue. I think it's gonna look gorgeous, and I'm glad I chose that color. Even though it's a darker color, I think it does show the texture really well anyway. So I'm excited about this one, and I'm also excited because I'm test knitting this alongside one of my best knitting friends, Sandra. So we met when we test knit the Fennel Sit jacket by Florence Miller a year and a half ago now, and so it's really nice to be test knitting something alongside her again. So yeah, I'll show you the yarn because I didn't show you. So I'm using Sunday by Sandnes Garn, which is lovely. It's also been so long since I used Sandnes Garn yarn, so I was really keen to try out holding this double for a summer garment. I think even for a sweater it would be lovely to wear, like for a DK weight garment. Obviously it would be a bit more expensive than just buying a double a DK weight yarn, but yeah, I really like this. I think next year for summer I'll try their Line or Tin Line, but they didn't have navy blue and I really was craving navy blue. I also didn't show you, but I also bought these needle stoppers, which are the cutest thing ever. So yeah, that's it for like the acquisitions. Let's just briefly talk about life updates. Yeah, life updates. If you're not interested in that, I completely understand. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. But if you are, I mentioned that I had some exciting life updates. I'm very happy to say that I'm changing jobs, which also means that I'm moving. So I live near Paris, which is a lovely city, but I'm more of a country girl, and so I'm going to be moving to the mountains near the French Alps. I'm very excited about it. So it's going to be pretty busy, I think, for me, and it's been pretty busy, which is why I've not been consistent with my filming and uploading schedule. Hopefully it's gonna go back to normal. I'm not sure. I'm gonna try to post regular content again, but I don't know how much the move is gonna impact my ability to film and upload videos. So if you don't see anything from me, not every week, that's why. But yeah, I'm gonna be working remotely and living in the mountains, which yeah, honestly, I've been waiting for this for years, so I'm beyond happy and excited. And yeah, so I think that's it for this week. I hope I didn't forget to mention anything. I probably did. I really appreciate you watching, and if you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. That really means a lot. I would love to know what you've been knitting on lately, if there's anything that you've been wanting to cast on maybe but haven't found the time yet for, or if there's a particular color that you've been really wanting to bring into your knitted wardrobe but haven't gotten around to yet. Like for me, the navy blue, it's been, I think it's the first true navy blue I've got going in my wardrobe, so I'm beyond happy to get that going this summer. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!